Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. When I tell you there's been all types of technical difficulties trying to get this live stream off. Started out trying to do it on Facebook. Was being told that there were some technical difficulties. So when you come in, please let me know that you're able to hear me. I tried to go in over on YouTube and I was getting technical difficulties. I have two streaming services that I use, and both of them were giving me problems. And I really wanted to do this live, so I've been trying to go back and forth. I would get up, but I couldn't get it all the way going. So I'm back now on Facebook. Hopefully everybody can hear me, because I think that this particular topic is huge and it runs extremely deep. And we tend to view everything emotionally, which is a surface mechanism and a surface response. All right. Thank you, Sandra. I hear that I'm coming in loud and clear. Before I get started, I want to encourage everybody to support the work that we're doing at the Odyssey Project, which is tied into what I'm going to talk to you about. Support it. I did put that information in. I'm going to come back and follow up after I finish this. I'm going to go on my desktop, and I'm actually going to add in other information about this young boy so that if you want to help them directly, you can. I'm already committed to actually offering my services to the family at no charge. But I want to point you towards what you want to do for him specifically, towards what they already have set up. No need to come through me for that. But I would love you to support the work that we're doing in the community on a broader scale. I'm pretty sure by now you've seen the posts flowing up and down your timeline of the mother who has now been arrested. Her name is Diana Elliott. Mother escorted her 14-year-old mentally incapacitated son into or in front of a hospital, depending on what reports you read, and she left him. And she has been arrested and charged with child cruelty. They say when they found him out, he was actually out front, outside. I'm assuming by the emergency room entrance, and they took him in. He is nonverbal, so it's definitely likely. Normally, if you have a nonverbal child due to brain trauma, the child doesn't walk either. The child is normally wheelchair bound. So if he's walking and he's nonverbal, he's likely autistic or an extreme case of Down syndrome. He's probably on the nonverbal end of the spectrum of autism. I personally deal with children who are diagnosed with autism and their parents, as well as Down syndrome. I have for years. And if you've heard any of my reports, I think they're some of the most exceptional and extraordinary people. They see the world different. They respond to the world different. They align themselves mentally, emotionally, and psychologically in a different manner. But if you can touch their genius, they become extraordinary. What I want to talk to you about here is the importance of going beneath the surface of our emotional responses to see the reality of something that is prevalent within the Black community, and we're not giving it enough attention. We need to evacuate our individualism, and we need to return to community, and we need to do it desperately. I've seen a lot of scolding and judging, and we do that. And one of the things that I have really worked hard on myself and promised myself that I was going to work on, and that is I was going to work on not assuming the worst about Black people while giving the benefit of the doubt to everyone else. And so I purposefully give the benefit of the doubt to anyone until I have all of the information in front of me. So I never jumped to a conclusion. I never sit up and I didn't judge her because I've worked, like I said, I've worked with parents with kids. So let me give you a little insight into what it's like to work with a special needs kid. Now, this is a mother with 4 kids. He's just one. And what I did do that I can tell you 99% of the people who are judging her And I'm not saying she doesn't have some accountability. I'm saying you got to know where someone is at and what they're going through. And you've got to be able to look at the whole thing, because if we look at the little small picture of the world we look in, we can judge everybody. And then everybody's judging us, and nobody's growing, and nobody's assisting anybody, and nobody's helping anybody. I'm about helping somebody at this point and stage in my life. And, that's not going to be a popular position when it comes to the masses. I'm about helping people more than judging them. I'm about seeing where they're at and what they need. So when I went and I told people who were involved that, hey, look, I'm going to offer my services. If you need me to talk to the DA, I'm going to talk to the DA. If you need services with the little boy, I'm pretty sure somebody there, they ought to have services and resources there. But if you need that, make me mark me available for that. But here's what I'm saying. I work with children, especially those with Down syndrome and autism. And like I said, I think they're remarkable and exceptional. I think that you have to be patient. But here's the thing. You have to be more than just patient and have love. And this is what I can tell you. I did the research. This woman loved this kid. This woman has pictures of this boy as much as she has pictures of her other kids. She's embracing him. She's loving him. She made him the lead turtle when she dressed all her kids as the as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. She made him the lead turtle. I'm assuming, and I'm thinking that's if I'm remembering correct, Michelangelo. But the one with the blue hash. But anyway, she's always loved him. If you watch the pictures of the video footage of him being escorted in front of the hospital, she's holding his hand. That's a sign of affection. She's holding his hand. She told them she was overwhelmed. This woman is living in a hotel raising 4 children. One's a special needs kid who's nonverbal. If you haven't dealt with that, I can't possibly explain it to you and make it make sense to you. I've dealt with parents. My clients, fortunately, can afford resources, and it's still rough. My client, these are clients. This is not the stuff I do in the hood. These are clients with resources that I'm telling about, and I'm telling you, they're overwhelmed. They're not equipped for it because it doesn't work the way it works with the other kids. It's an entirely different ball game that you're figuring out. And if you don't have resources, and the fact that she's living, and then, everybody's saying, well, he was malnourished. I don't think that comes from mistreatment. That's not cruelty. She's been arrested and charged with child cruelty. That's not. Thank you, Angela, for chiming in. It means the world to me, because I know what it's like. I don't have an autistic child, but I work with them and I see the beauty in it, but I also see the burden. And if people don't understand it, they're going to easily jump to judgment. But the thing is, this woman, I don't know what led to where she's at now, but she's living in a hotel. And what that can tell me is it's more than likely she's not been able to get assistance on the slightest side, much less on the things she needs for him, because of the address issue. And so they probably don't have the food. It's going to be real hard for her to work because of caring for him. Now, by all stretch, like I said, I wasn't the person that jumped off on my imaginations and just jumped to a conclusion. I did a little research. I did a little reading. I also think a very close friend who I consider to be a sister, Tiffany Banks, for reaching in on her end and doing and pulling up some stuff. But I've been reading, I've been online, I've been looking. Before I could contribute on it, I wanted to have an understanding. Number one is I wasn't going to judge the judgment. Something that Tiffany pointed to, and I'm going to be all over the place in a minute, but I'm going to settle in. Something that Tiffany posted, because she's posted on it multiple times, that really touched me, was how everyone's celebrating Beyonce because she took a year off for mental health. You know how many black mothers need to take a year off to get their head right? And there's absolutely no way they can do it. Even if they were able to take a year off, would they be able to afford the real support and intervention that would be necessary for them to really truly re-strengthen themselves and reestablish themselves mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually? You know how much that will help her, but how much it would help every mother, not just black mothers, but especially black mothers, with everything that black mothers go through. Obviously, she's single. And of course, we'll judge her for that because we've been trained to judge her. You know, for every little thing that's wrong, we've been trained to judge people instead of asking, how can I be of assistance? How can I serve? How can I help? And so I see a mother in the pictures that I've been able to come up with online, a mother that loved this kid, a mother that just got to a point that was overwhelmed. And see, it's almost like we would much rather get the news report that she snapped and killed all 4 kids. Then we can just put our oh my gods and oh wows and that's a shames up on and keep it moving. See, we don't want to take a look at the fact that she's out there by herself, no resources. The fact that, and then there were teachers who have contacted people who are checking into the story and talked about how wonderful this person is, but also commended the mother. So she's not been mistreating this kid. She's just gotten to a point where she does not know what to do, and there's no ready answer. How many people do you know in the community know exactly what to do if this was to happen to them? Who to go to, who to call, what's the next step? What are the protocols within the community for the community to respond to something like this, to be at the assistance of a person who's struggling with a special needs kid that's nonverbal? You've got a 14-year-old kid nonverbal. You don't have a clue what that's like if you've never dealt with it. You get frustrated when your 1-year-old is throwing a tantrum or your 2-year-old is throwing a tantrum because they can't communicate what they want in a way clear enough to get what they want. So they're having problems. Imagine being 14 years old, 14 years deep in the game, and you still can't verbally communicate. He's frustrated. She's frustrated, and there's no resources. Yes, it requires patience. And yes, there has to be love. I see the evidence of both. I see a person that's given patience, a person that's given love, and still doesn't know what to do and is probably scared because in a couple of more years, he's going to be the target of the system. And it's not going to be it's not going to be the helping side of the system. And in researching it, y'all listen to me now, in researching it, they were talking about what happened. It was one officer that was interviewed that was very, very empathetic. You know, I can empathize. I can understand that she's overwhelmed. I can see it, and I'm very, very sorry for her, but she didn't handle it the right way, and she didn't. You know, unfortunately, there are no laws that protect kids after they're 30 days old from a parent that just isn't capable of going any further or not ready or whatever. Once you get them for 30 days, there's your figure it out that you got to go through an entire different process. And there's a way to do it, but then you still can get caught up. If they don't come take it by force, they don't want you dropping them off. Okay. And see, the reason that you can do it 30 days, newborn babies are easy to put into the adoption system. That's a money meal. So it's easy to do. It gets a little harder after that. And then the state is stuck with taking care of them. Okay. So my thing is we've got to be very careful about what we're looking at. But she's overwhelmed. She tells them, I was overwhelmed and I didn't know what to do. Now, that cop, he was understanding. But the next cop that came up, he referred to this little boy as a young man. That's exactly how the system's going to handle him. You understand what I'm saying? I don't see. Here's another thing. She didn't just drop him off somewhere in the elements where he didn't stand a chance. She took him to a place where she thought he would get the kind of support and the help that he needed, with people who would know exactly what to do and how to do it with him. She did the best. But here's the thing. That when she dropped him off, she was considered a parent that abandoned a child, because after 30 days, you don't have a right to bring a child. Here's my problem. If she was willing to go through driving this kid to a different county and dropping him off at a hospital where she felt he was going to be taken care of, do you think if there was a community around her, a community that said, hey, take a break, I got him for the day, or take a break, I got to feel, or hey, here are some resources. Hey, I'm going to help you with some resources. Someone there alongside her to help her. Do you think that she would have dropped him off at a hotel? I think that she loves her son and she wants him. If she had a support system around her, I don't think that he would have ended up there. I think that she would have had the help she needed. I'm telling you, and I deal with these kids for an hour and a half at a time. And I'm telling you, the work I do with the parent is more intense than the work I do with the kid. That's how burdened it is. And it's not their burden because they don't want to. It's burdened because it's work. It's burdened because you're not sure how it's going to go. You can't make the same predictions about this child that you can make through the behaviors of your other child. You don't know what their life is going to look like. That's stress. You don't know how they're going to be able to take care of themselves. That's stress. You could easily be responsible for this kid for the rest of your life. That's stress. And if it's a black male, their unpredictable behavior could easily cost them their lives, and they get anywhere close to being seen as an adult. So when this officer sits up and calls this kid a young man, he's 14 and he's a small 14, but he calls him a young man. It tells you how most of the people that don't look like us in the system see him. They're ready to try him as an adult early as 13 or 14 anyway. So we have to be a little less judgmental and a lot more empathetic, a lot more willing to sit up and understand what someone's going through. It's easy as a parent who done sit up and put in the work and refuse to give in and gone through things. As a man, I feel like we don't get to complain at all. Because the vast majority of us, even if we putting in the super father stuff, there's a woman beside us. I was a single father for some time. My older kids, I was a single father with them. And it's not fun. And it requires a lot of maneuverment, a lot of resources. You got to have connections, especially for someone like me that traveled a lot. I had to have people I trusted. I had to have the ability to take care of them. Now, granted, by the time I got them, they were moving into their teenage years and then into high school. So after they got into high school, it became a lot easier. But then I had to be worried about what they were doing when I wasn't there, and they knew I wasn't going to be there. And it's a still thing, but none of them were special needs. But for most men, we're doing for most men when we're on our game as fathers, we're doing it with a mother that's also responsible. Now there are those cases where they're the single parent, and it's a father, or it's it's the one parent that's actually carrying it, and on their game is the father. But there are so many times that it's our women. And it goes back to that whole being able to take some time off for mental health reasons. Our women are doing it, and they're doing it for the most part by themselves. We don't want to admit that. Yes, we have some unbelievable and awesome fathers. I see them a lot of times. I see them at the cigar shop. I seen a bunch of them at the last meeting of When Men Hurt. Where men get this space to talk about the things we struggle with. I saw a lot of good fathers there. I see a lot of good fathers in the men that I work with in the community. That's a part of the work we do at the Odyssey Project. I see them, but I also see a lot of women that come to me and bring their sons to me, and they are scared because they've done everything they can, and they don't know. And these kids don't have mental deficiencies. These are kids that are just in a place where they're hurting, they're struggling, they don't understand it, they're angry, and all of this. And mothers are saying, I don't know what to do, and I'm scared. He's 15 now. He's 16 now. He doesn't even want to listen to me anymore. And here he come, and now I'm sitting here and I'm talking about it, and I'm having to try to come up with a plan, and I'm working with it, and I'll give my life to it to save a young man from getting lost in a system that wants to destroy him anyway. But what I'm saying is, imagine a mother, no resources. Just the thought of, am I going to be able to feed my kids today? There's some of you out there that know that weight. See, I married a woman who did it for years. That's why I try to keep her from doing anything she doesn't have to do. So that's a weight that a lot of people don't bear. But some of you know that way. Some of you know what it's like to wake up and don't know if you're going to be able to pull it off today. And the kids are counting on you. And ain't nobody you can pick the phone up and call. It's just you. Family gets distant. Stop answering calls. Now, you're getting up and you're doing that. My wife worked 2 jobs. And then when she needed to make sure she could afford the daycare until she can get some help with daycare, she volunteered at the daycare center while working. So it's easy for a woman that's done that to sit up and say, I can't feel what you're doing. Just imagine with everything you went through, somebody that went through double that, because they're out there. That you looked at something that almost broke you, but you're stuck in there, so you are demanding it from others. But what happens with the person that's got to do double what you went through and almost broke? We got to do a lot less judging and a lot more being understanding and empathetic. Like I say, I didn't just jump on this. I didn't just run with it. I took the time to actually sit down and research it, to find out who she was, where she comes from. She's trying. And if we're not careful, the system going to eat up, take all the rest of the kids. Everybody's going to end up in the system, and nobody's really going to get help. Because what we know now is the foster care system is one of the #1 suppliers to the sex trafficking industry. Oh, they've been doing it. Our children aren't safe in that system. Never have been. Marion works with these kids. I'm telling you, they not only being sex trafficked out of that, they're being sex trafficked by their own families. That's how a lot of them are ending up in it. It's a lot of stuff going on out there. This is a woman that said, I've been overweight. I've been trying. I've been loving on him. He had a good jacket on when he came on. She ain't, she's doing the best she could. And I'm saying, for a woman that went through the trouble she did to get him to a safe spot, do you think that she would have did the same thing if she had some people in her corner that was holding her down, that was giving her the space she needed to do what it is that needed to be done, that was saying, here, take a break? What I'm trying to get you to understand is, while you can praise Beyonce for taking that mental break, very few people have the resources she has to do it. And I'm telling you, there are a bunch of black women out there that need it. We've got to be more of a resource to our community. We got to get back to community. We're so individualized that as long as I'm good, I can't see what anybody else is dealing with. That's unacceptable. That's not how we are meant to operate. We are social creatures by nature. We're mammals. We are meant to operate in units, in social groups. We were never meant to stand alone. We were never meant to go through things on our own. And the mental pressures that come with that are catastrophic over time. We've got to do better. So my challenge is, don't resist judging. Instead of sitting up talking about how trifling she is, ask, what can I do to help this sister? What can I do? Now, there are some people that don't need help. Mothers that are allowing men to kill their children. Mothers who are killing their children. That's a different thing. Because you had a chance. See, that's my whole thing. She's being judged because before she snapped, that was her cry. That was her cry for help. I can't do it anymore. And so she relieved some of the pressure the only way she saw and knew how to do. We need to be resources in the community on a consistent basis so less people are feeling overwhelmed. We've got to make it okay in the community to need help. We've got to make it okay in the community to ask for help. Look, and it's kind of funny, and I'm being facetious because it's not funny, but it's kind of funny. I watch and I get the analytics from who's checking in to live streams and who's checking in, and it's amazing how things are when we are being called and challenged to be responsible. It's amazing. when, because of the way that the title is listed in the description box, you would look at it and say, okay, and you can tell people were tuning in to hear me go off on this woman because they quickly tuned back out. That's what we like. We like the disruption. We like the division. We like the sensationalism. We like to go after and attack. See, when we are able to attack people, it makes us feel good about who we are. When we can find somebody that's living life and doing stuff and making decisions that we wouldn't make, it makes us feel good about ourselves. And so when we can sit up and say, that was stupid, that was absolutely stupid and absurd, we are sitting up and we're in a place of judgment. It makes us feel good about ourselves. It's because we haven't gotten to a point of true healing where we just simply feel good about ourselves because we are who we are. We need somebody that's less than us to prove that we're a little bit higher than some people. And so we look for those that we can judge. Judging is just a simple mechanism used to make ourselves feel better about ourselves instead of growing and healing and building ourselves from within. And that comes because we need help mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. Let's just call it what it is. And so, like I said, I'm sending as much love, light, and prayers as I can to this sister. I'm going to offer my services in whatever way they may be necessary and needed. You can get to them if you want to offer something or do something for them. Matter of fact, I don't think she'll mind me giving out. Contact Tiffany Banks if you want to do something directly for this young man. I don't want. His name is Sheldon Linden. Sheldon Linden. It should be something out there that you can do if you want to reach out directly to him. But from what I heard, people are calling in and donating clothes. People are calling in and asking for his shoe size. People are calling. So he's getting a lot of responses in that area. So that's my challenge. We've got to rise to the challenge of being better, being human, being caring. Instead of sitting up and placing blame, asking, how can I help? And there's obviously a distinct line between someone who needs help and someone who's incorrigible, someone who is purposefully harming kids and has a vitriol and hatred for kids. There is obviously that. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a mother that looks like she's really trying, the one that's loved on and caressed and shown affection over and over again based off all the pictures I've been able to locate. It's amazing how they start popping up. She's loved this kid. She just has run out of support. I'm challenging all of you that we change our mindset and that we become a resource in the community. I'm going to end it there, and I'm going to end it by saying we need your support so that we can continue to be a resource in the community, and we can continue our work, and that we can deepen our work, because Marion and I have now, on top of everything else we're doing, we've committed to deal with the homeless student population in Houston, which is just totally blew my mind. Just in H.D. alone, which is the largest school district in the Houston area, there are 30,000, and from what I understand, almost another 60,000 total with all of the school districts outside of that, where the students who are attending school are homeless at some level, and that makes them more vulnerable to sex traffickers because of their financial, socioeconomic position and condition. They're more at risk, and so we're going to attack and address that homeless issue. And like she was like, when we were leaving, we did a radio, we were a guest on the radio show Monday night, and we on the way home. I think it was Monday night. We were on the way home, and she's going, but how are we going to get the funding? We're not going to worry about the funding. We get it. We don't. We're going to figure this out. What we're not going to do is sit around and wait for something to happen. We're going to commit to it. And so the planning started that next day, Tuesday. I started on it. And that's just something in addition to Black Man Lead, Rite of Passage Initiative for young Black males from 4 to 30, Restoring Ghettos Forgotten Daughters, the work that Marion's doing with young Black girls and young women, even in the TYC, which is the Youth Detention Center in Texas. She's working with girls who are now in detention. She's working with girls who are in the foster system. She's working with girls who are now out of both the foster system and TYC, and it's ongoing. We are going to continue to push no matter what. But again, we could use your support. The information to support us should be in the description box. You can click the link and go to the site, or you can give on our Cash App handle. But we definitely need your support. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and check out of here. I hope that I put something on your heart for you to think about. It's easily to judge this woman. It's going to take a lot more patience, love, and empathy to sit up and say, okay, what can we do to help? Because there are 3 other kids in addition to this child, and the system just wants to chew her up and spit her out. And she can't afford an attorney, so she's going to have a court-appointed attorney, and it's going to be a farce. So we're going to really do what we can to be an advocate for her, and I'll be maybe keeping you abreast of what's going on, but we're not going to walk away from this. It's not going to be a one-off for us. We're not going to just sit up and talk about it and then move on to the next thing. We've done that enough, and Mary and I were talking about that. Literally the day that we did the radio show, that morning, we did the radio show 5 o'clock that evening. That morning we were talking about how we have become a people who talk about the problems and move on. And that can't be us. That can never be us, that we talk about the problems and move on, that we aren't actively engaged in being a solution. That can't be us, and it will not be us. And I'm challenging you, don't let that be you. On that note, I'm going to check out here. You guys have an unbelievable day.